Good morning everybody, it's Kathy from Kathy's Creative Space. I'm back from Melbourne over the weekend for 2018 On Stage with Stampin' Up. There I got to meet loads of lovely Stampin' Up demonstrators and also to swap cards and card fronts and 3D items with other people to learn new techniques and get more ideas. I did have a lot of people stumped though as to which set I used to make my swap, which is this one, and the techniques that I used to make it. So I'm making this video so everyone can see how it was done and then they have the opportunity to make it themselves. The stamp set I used was a big one and it's in the main catalogue, the annual catalogue, and it is called Touches of Texture. It's a great set and it has flowers and bees, but it also has texturized sections. So I'm going to be using some of these to put this card together. And I started out with a 10 centimeter by 10 centimeter piece of card. For the initial project I did use my Stamparatus because I was making 25 of them. But because I'm just making the one today, I'm just going to use the blocks. Now the first block I'm using is the D block. It's a nice size and as you can see it's really great for holding because it's got the ridges around the side. It's not just straight. And the first stamp I'm using is the outline of the flower. And you can see that it sticks really well. The ink that I'm using is Memento in Tuxedo Black. It gives a nice crisp line, which is what you need for this, even though you saw from the original that it was quite coloured over. It does give that little bit of extra dimension when you're making the card. The great thing of course with the Stamparatus, if there isn't enough ink, you can just ink up some more and go over it again. But Memento is a great ink and I'm not having that worry. And there you go, there's the three flowers. Slightly different from the other one because I'm not using the Stamparatus and having it all lined up, but I think they just look beautiful. So the next step was to use the colour, which is this. It looks like just like a watercolour, I guess you would say. And the colour of the ink I'm using is Rich Razzleberry. I love this colour. It's really bold and beautiful. And also I'm a big purple fan. Now these are the old ink pads. We do have newer ones out. I will get around to replacing them eventually. But these are still great ink pads. So I'm not really going to be trying to line things up so much when colouring these images because I'm going to be stamping once, turning and stamping a second time. And turn, stamp. So you can still see the lined image underneath, but it's already given a new dimension. And the third one. And there we go. It was quick and painless, wasn't it? Now the other image that I used from the stamp set was the stem, and I've used Old Olive for that. Now you'll see from my other piece that the stem seems to come straight from behind this flower. Now to do this I just made a simple mask and just stamped over the top. And there we go. And then we can go over the old olive using a blender pen. And you'll see in the lid here I've got some extra ink, and just colour up the leaves. It's a great little technique, and it means you don't need extra textures or anything in the colours, because it's all right there already on your palette. And you can reuse these pens over and over because they are so easy to clean up. It literally just takes that and now it's clean again. So there we have the main image all stamped up. Now I'm going to show you how to use our embossing paste to make these raised centres. So this is our embossing paste. It's a great little product. It comes in a bag. Always keep the lid on. Keep the inside foil lid, this one, and inside the bag with the lid on. Otherwise it's going to dry out really quickly. I use this little cup that I got from the hospital on one of my many trips there. Save them up stampers. They're excellent for using, and washable and reusable. I'm also using a Brusho in yellow. I keep a pin in the top, just stop it from getting any fluid in there, but you use it like a bit like a salt shaker. Just give it a shake in and stir, shake in and stir, and eventually you'll find the right colour. You won't need very much texture paste because I'm only doing one. This tool is also by Stampin' Up. It's called a palette knife and it comes in a set of 3. Here is the packet, and let's see, you can see there's 2 other sizes, and you can see they're quite well used. They're very handy to have. So I'm just going to tap a little bit of the yellow tint in. As you can see, it's not very much. You can see its colour starts to come out with water. So these are great for using as a watercolour as well. And they're very good for blending to make another colour. So I've used the red and the blue to make purple before, and it was just glorious. Just tapped in a little bit more of the yellow tint. It's coming to a nice bright colour now. Rather than the pastel, I like it. Thought it needed a little bit more richness. And there we go. So that's a really nice colour, I think. So let's scoop it up. And I'll actually need the extra palette knife rather than use my finger. So here we go. Actually, the rounded edge palette knife is great for scooping the paste out of the container. And you're just going to need a little bit on each. And just give it a little bit of a dab. There's another one. Now, let's see if I can scrape a little bit more off that last flower. Feels a bit like cake decorating actually. So it does take a little bit for this to dry, but I just wanted to give you an idea of how I came to the actual flower pattern on the card. And as you can see, it's been quite simple to do. This mask I made earlier was just on a piece of scrap paper, and I just inked up the coloured image and cut around it. So you can see here it looks like the flowers are all coming from behind the front one. The ribbon that I used was this gorgeous razzleberry, rich razzleberry ribbon. It feels like velvet and it is absolutely glorious. It's one of my favourite ribbons I've seen them come out with. Of course, they're constantly coming out with more and more beautiful ribbon, which can be a problem for some stampers because they just love to collect it all. This one is definitely a keeper though. Now, I also made a small piece with a thank you on it. You could use any sentiment you want. I simply use a piece of scrap and I use the rich razzleberry again, but I used this stamp, so it's just a texture. And you could use this, do this in either the rich razzleberry or the old olive. I think they would both work really well. I did have a couple of card fronts which I just used old olive cardstock behind, and it looked gorgeous as well. So I just inked up this one, and just a couple of times. I actually did a whole piece of card because I was making so many. But you can see you're making your own pattern paper. You know, you don't always have to buy the brand new designer series paper if it's not going to quite work for what you want the purpose to be. So I think that is enough coverage for the card for putting that sentiment on, and then I simply trimmed around it and brushed the edges of the cardstock in the ink pad again. So just doing it like this, and it gives it a nice coloured edge. I'll finish this because I'll be able to use this piece for another card sometime. It's just so pretty, this colour. So there you go, you can see the colours coming on the edges, and it's just not the white bright colour now. Okay, so that's going to have to dry. So you've already seen what the finished product looks like. I've simply taped the ribbon on the back because then it would go on top of another white card. This isn't the finished card, so my idea was that each person would receive this card, but then will be able to put on any size card that they want to. I hope that answers all your questions. If you have any more, just let me know in comments. I'll also have a list of all the products that you can purchase from my store on my blog. Well, have a lovely day, everybody. I'm certainly looking forward to the rest of this beautiful Canberra sunny weather, and we'll talk to you again soon. Have a great day.